Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're getting back into Immortal X-Men and getting caught up with the crazy plan that Sinister is crafting, which only gets even wilder the further in that we continue. And you'll see what I mean as we get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so for this one, we pick up not long after the Quiet Council held their meeting to determine who would take the open seat that was left by Magneto. And like we'd seen, after considering a number of prospects, it wasn't before long when Selene had become the frontrunner, with her making it clear that if she was selected, then she would be the only member of the Quiet Council who knew how to use magic, which like we'd seen was a convincing argument. But when Exodus convinced Hope that she should go for it, she then came right in, implying that it needs to be her, with her being a member of the Five, of whom none are members of the Council. But nonetheless, this led the Council to choosing Hope over Selene. And as a result, out of spite, Selene animated the Araco Gate, which was the equivalent of just dropping a kaiju on the shores of Krakoa. And really, not only was this Selene doing this out of spite for the Council picking Hope over her, but also this was very much Selene saying, okay, you don't have a magic user on the Council. Here's a huge reason why you should. And not only that, but with Selene creating this huge problem, she doesn't bother to stick around. Cause it isn't like she's doing this to change their minds and get the Council to choose her so that then she'll change it back. No, this is her reaction and she's leaving them with it. And to take it a step further, we find that she's already made her way to London to take refuge amongst the Coven of Kaba. But back in Krakoa, it's here where we find Hope leaping into action while telling the other members of the Five to get the Krakoan civilians to safety. But also in this moment for Hope, it's a bit of her switching gears and getting back into who she knows herself to be, which is a leader, a fighter, and even though she hasn't taken full ownership, or much of any ownership for that matter, of the Messiah title, she does know that she needs to get back to being more hands-on. But then from here, we find Storm and Magneto stepping in, since they were still here. And Magneto kinda jokes about it with him recently stepping down from the Quiet Council, with him saying that it's a good thing that he didn't just huff and rush out of here. Which is true, but at the same time, he's not gonna see this and not help. But with Magneto and Storm working together here, and doing the classic 1-2 combo, with Magneto throwing all kinds of metals into the Araco Gate, and Storm using them as conductors, it's here where we also find that Hope is observing and mentioning how this is just an example of how much more powerful their people are together. Because either Storm or Magneto could single-handedly take down a creature of this magnitude, given the time. But with the two of them working together, they're able to swiftly give it a critical blow. And really, in any other circumstance, that would have killed it. But it's here where they find that Selene's magical creature is just reforming itself after what should have killed it. But at this time, Emma Frost links Destiny to everyone, with Destiny getting somewhat frantic and having trouble forming her words, with her vision of the future just continually warping and changing. But at this point, with everyone connected, Dr. Nemesis informs Magneto and Storm that because this creature is literally the Araco Gate, it's connected to multiple dimensions, so when they attack it, the damage is dispersed through multiple gateways. And to take it a step further, if they destroy it, that destruction can go through Otherworld into everywhere, which really makes the situation much more complicated, because on one hand, you can't destroy the gate without things going boom everywhere, and then on the other hand, you can't just leave this thing on the shores of Krakoa, because it's going to annihilate everything in its path. But at this point, with Hope trying to lead a number of civilians to safety, or at the least further away from this thing, Exodus makes his way to Hope, telling her that she needs to get out of there because she's too important to be at risk, you know, with her being the Messiah and everything. And with Exodus trying to get Hope out of there, she tells Exodus that she's not going to leave anyone behind, to where then he's like, I can't save everyone. And it's here where Hope does something that she's definitely done before, and I kinda wish that she would do more often, but she uses her powers to mimic the powers of Exodus so both of them can hold this thing back together. And it's pretty nuts cause for Exodus, of course, he has a laundry list of powers, including teleportation, energy shields, concussive blast, telekinesis, just to name a few. But also for Exodus, his powers are amplified when more people believe in him or his belief in himself increases. So now with Hope borrowing these powers, as well as the belief system buff, which for her it's even crazier because she's Hope Summers, the first mutant born after M-Day, the savior mutant kind. And on top of that, with Exodus being one of her biggest fans, or followers, however you want to put it, this also boosts her confidence in herself, which on top of everything makes the combination of these two even more powerful. But then from here we head over to Mr. Sinister, who at this point has made his way back to his secret lab. And with him coming here, he makes his way to his gene closet for a special little something that he can use in order to quote-unquote save the day. But of course, we know Sinister's only stepping out there to help because he had his predictions on how this day was supposed to go, and this gate turned magical kaiju is jeopardizing his progress and his plans for how things in the near future are supposed to play out. But then it's here where we see Sinister inject himself with this gene concoction that immediately transforms him into this ridiculously large hulking figure. And with him quoting Nietzsche, who once said, "Fight not with monsters lest you become a monster," and Sinister's like, you know what, bump that. If you're going to fight with monsters, you should become a monster and be the best and biggest monster that you can. But right away, with Sinister taking the fight to this thing, Xavier reaches out and he asks Sinister, what exactly is he looking at? And it's here where Sinister lets him know that he had injected himself with an early Chimera prototype full of a bunch of different mutant genes merged with an MGH base and some Arakai spice. But then he just tells Charles that it's nothing to worry about because it's from a very bespoke area of his work, and it took him weeks to make even this dose to more or less make it sound like, oh no, this concoction, it isn't threatening and it's nothing to worry about. And of course, with Charles hearing this, he asks Sinister if he's going to make it worse. And in response, Sinister tells Charles the plan, which is really just for him to grab this thing and take it out further into the water away from Krakoa, because in the next 6 seconds, his pseudo kaiju body is going to explode. And as he pulls the creature out further away, he lets Charles know that he's gonna need a pickup, because when he's done, he's just gonna be out there in the water with what's left of this thing. And he knows that it's gotta be quick, because as he's floating out there, he sees this thing reforming at a rate that he finds rather impressive. So if he's out here long enough, this thing will be back and ready to eat him up. But with Sinister doing this, it was really just a way for him to buy Krakoa time. And while he's out here, fortunately, it isn't long before Nightcrawler shows up, bamping to him and then bamping Sinister back to shore. And when this happens, we kind of get this moment here where Sinister tells Nightcrawler that he can't exactly change his past, but surely he's as committed as anyone else to Krakoa and its well-being. And even if Kurt isn't grateful of him, he lets him know that he's grateful that Kurt bamfed out here and came to his rescue. And with Sinister saying this, Kurt pauses for a moment, but then he gives Sinister the thumbs up with him saying, well done, you bought us time. But then as he leaves, Sinister just pretty much calls him a sucker, with him saying that it's the people who think the best of others who are just the easiest to convince. But then it's here where we find that Charles has called an emergency quiet council meeting so that they can come to a solution of what to do about this undying creature that Selene has just dropped on them. And really through the course of this meeting, they come to the conclusion that they're gonna have the Krakoa captains slow it down, but without killing it, while also reaching out to Selene in an attempt to negotiate and see what it is that she wants. And I mean, that's one of those things where we know that's not a good option. It's not a good plan, because aside from Selene just proving her point, she doesn't have the expressed desire to negotiate. And at one point, we even see that Destiny realizes what Selene is doing. But also through the course of this meeting, we come to find out that Scott Summers has a protocol for everything, including kaiju attacks. And to me, the funniest thing about this Summers protocol for delaying kaiju is really how specific it is, with it also including footnotes that cite references to other protocols just to make sure that he was thorough. And it's funny to me because you can tell that he put a lot of time into this, amongst many other protocol entries. But shortly after this meeting, it's here where we find that none of those protocols are really gonna matter. Because it's here where Destiny approaches Hope and tells her that at 1900 hours, Greenwich Mean Time, Selene will stop by a window in London, she'll stand there for a second, and then she'll die. And Destiny even goes a step further to give Hope the address in the specific location of where this is gonna happen. And for Hope, with her hearing this, she asks Destiny, because she knows that Destiny can only see probable futures. But with hearing this, she asks Destiny, what are the chances of this actually happening? And Destiny's response is that it is significantly higher after this conversation. And it's funny because for Hope, after this conversation, she's pretty much like, oh, you want me to go kill her? Like she ain't get it right away. But shortly after, she gets right to it. And she does this by first creeping up behind Magic and stealing her ability to create portals, because honestly, if she used Nightcrawler, she would have been mad late. But with doing this, she makes her way to Greenwich so that when the time comes at 1900 hours in 7 minutes sharp, she has Selene in her sights, and as soon as Selene steps into that window, Hope squeezes. And just like that, she sends one shot straight to Selene's dome. But at this point, with there being no time for teabagging, Hope makes her way back to Krakoa because this job isn't finished quite yet, because Selene's creature is still reforming and it is still a potential threat. So for Hope, with her continuing with her plan, She goes through with Selene's resurrection at Arbor Magna, but with Selene just being reborn more or less. She's still disoriented and of course missing some of her more recent memories. But as soon as Selene comes out, Hope has Exodus use Selene to find the off switch for her monster, and now with doing this, the job is done. To where then Exodus just cracks Selene's neck, and then the job is like done. But after this, we then find Hope making her way to the Quiet Council and explaining to them that she didn't break any of the laws here. And for the most part, the council agrees with her actions because worse decisions have been made. But also, some of them even go further to say that Selene broke the law of respecting this sacred land and she should be put in the hole right away. But then eventually Charles asks Hope if Selene was at the top of the resurrection queue, would she bring her back? And for Hope, she intentionally tries to respond to this the calmest way that she can. And she tells Charles that she thinks that they should table this discussion for now, which really puts Selene's resurrection on the back burner. But after this meeting, Hope tells Exodus more or less that this whole rodeo just proves that she's not the Messiah, because Jesus wasn't running around busting at the ops. But in response, Exodus tells Hope that it's for this reason why she's a better kind of Messiah. And of course Hope nudges Exodus like knock it off, like he's joking. But Exodus doesn't even crack a smile, like he said that straight face. But then it's from here where we find that Sinister's approached Destiny, mentioning the idea of bringing Selene back to get more answers. But then Destiny tells him that that's not going to end well for him, because like she told him before, they must be on the same side. And when Charles hears the latter end of this, he asks Sinister what exactly Destiny was talking about. And Sinister tells Charles that he doesn't know, because Destiny's never told him such a thing. And really with this happening, it's us beginning to see the signs of Sinister's actions with him messing with the timeline, and it's giving Destiny a bit of clairvoyant vertigo. And we see this happen again when Destiny tells Mystique that she's still feeling strange after the incident with Selene's creature, when she hasn't felt this way in over a century. And after that, she then falls to the ground saying, "You're a ghost, repeatedly. Just like what we'd seen in issue 1 when we were given the flashback with her and Sinister in Paris in the year 1919. And I know, it may sound a little wild and trippy at the moment, but as we continue through this, Sinister's plan is going to begin to make a lot more sense. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/Dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.